like it's a 14.
Come on in. This way.
Building on Wednesday, Thursday, cemetery out here.
Center of the city. Cemetery.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah. It says the city of Carson owns half of our cemetery. Yeah, Carrie Keegan was, and he was able to be yesterday.
We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Meeting order. Minutes on the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes on the agenda as presented.
I'll second. Motion by Terry, seconded by Bill to approve the minutes on the agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Carried. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for reclassification report for DD 311, Lot 5 and Lot 7.
I'll second it.
Bill, seconded by Terry, to open the public hearing for DD 311, Lot 5, Lot 7. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Just the formality to approve it totally, because you had done it last week to approve with no changes, so now it's just to approve it as a.
Yep. Comment from the public.
I was not here last week, nor did I realize that you're going to discuss it. Were you heard?
No.
Once again, I've clarified with Kingsley Johnson that this 40 in section 27 that I own, which is actually about 36 acres, seems to come up from the force of water from the city of Thompson. And I don't know if you were able to get a hold of Kingsley or not. Did you talk to him? No. Okay. Well, anyway, I reinforced that with him. I do have a drainage map 37 that shows tile leading into the city of Thompson. And on that 40 to classify it as a zone 6. Realize there's some responsibility for drainage there. There is a blowout on the tile, and I draw that to Bill's attention. I don't know that the blowouts are. I think it comes from the pressure coming back up the wrong way. And this is it's a problem. But
it blew out last year too on the other side.
Yes, right? That's correct. It's on the other side of the tile. It's on the south side this year. It's on the north side. By the same token, it's a main, it has to be repaired. Lynn Kroll will be repairing that. Mm-hmm. He will get to it as he can, of course. It is planted. But that's the consideration I'm asking for. In addition, the clean out on this was bid at is $50,000 the maximum you can do without engineering and competitive bidding?
No, that's gone up to about 150 per code.
It has. Okay, it used to be 20.
Yeah. Well, no, we did 20. It used to be 50, but we did 20 as a county.
Anyway, the in around $78,000, a big number. And I would encourage you in the future, if you could, to have competitive bidding and engineering so they can tell where they're at. I mean, they don't do grades or anything. They don't really know what's needed to be taken out. They said there was a lot more that needed taking out. Well, if they didn't, they were given some time to check it. And if they can't stick a grade stick out there and figure it out, then it would really be nice if they could get it a little bit closer. Maybe 5 or 10 over, but that's a big number over $49,678,000. So competitive bidding is very responsible to the people that are paying the bill. So check that as you can. But that's what I'm asking for today.
Gary, could I look at your
Sure. There you go.
It shows it leading up here. This is the city. And it's a terrible picture, but that's what they had.
This is the road here then?
The road is over here. This is the northeastern quarter. This is
Okay.
the 40 would be right in here. Well,
Let me grab my. Here. You got yours.
that may be inaccurate as well, but this is in section 27, same second as the. See, I'm here. Quarter from him because I'm in the northwest one corner. And this would be here.
So would this be the hill then? Or the high spot?
I don't know. This would obviously be the low spot. That's the. I don't. I did not drive by it this morning. I had quite a time getting here to start with. But this would probably be the northeast one quarter right here. Yeah, without a doubt.
Is this the cemetery?
I don't know. Well,
This,
and I apologize, but that's all that we
this
can
all
find.
goes this way. And
This comes to here.
and that's the road leading out of town, right?
That is correct. Yep.
So to me, this looks like. Is there or there?
Carla's going to pull those.
So there's a quarter of a mile from this line to the road.
This would be a half mile.
Oh, that's half mile.
This is a quarter. Where we are in 27 here.
All right.
Why am I not seeing 27?
26.
It's right here.
27.
The number.
This is I-40 here. So it's draining this way.
You're saying it's a county tile?
No, I'm just saying it drains that way.
Private tile. And it's a relatively large private tile.
The city is hooked onto this. This is what I've been told for years. I bought the property in the 90s. John Stenberg and Roger, they're both deceased. So. But I'm just trying to verify it. That's the closest thing I could find, but it's been that way for a long time. It hasn't changed. I think that's an old map.
Drag it down. Zoom in on the west edge of Thompson.
Yeah, that probably would be the
Drag it
cemetery.
down.
No, not necessarily.
Drag it down. Down. There you go. So it looks like this area here is more than likely the
The tile comes,
That's the north one that this one hooks into. This is the tile that goes
no,
north.
but there's a tile that comes underneath this and goes from that circle, goes out this way.
For that.
And for that field, and it's a relatively large tile. I saw the hole myself. The hole was about right there, and it would blow out. That Crow had to replace.
But we're talking about farther
This
south.
is the,
Yeah,
you're talking down there here.
See,
This map shows it coming
this
out of
one
here.
actually goes north up to that tile you're talking
Yeah.
about.
It shows it coming out of here.
So it looks like to me it's only doing this pocket here just barely on the west end of town, just past Apple Homes.
All I know is water runs downhill and there's a lot of pressure. I'm getting it backwards out the program. So,
I'm just trying to verify it, and they've attested to the fact.
And I'm not asking for zero drainage, I just want to classify this. And Rick looked at it with me as well. And this is over and above what you call basic soil.
Is that area in the district?
Yes.
So last week you felt that there didn't need to be a reduction, so what are you thinking today then?
Well, if it's included in the district, I don't know, in my opinion. See the map here, I think it's one of those overlap areas almost. There's a different color between that and trustee DD12 on this map.
DD12 goes to the,
I know, but in that section of town, there's a different color, kind of a void area. But it might be an overlap. Remember when we were dealing with these maps, the colors overlapped and created another area. If this is part of that district, it's just one of those.
but I don't know what you're trying to figure out. That parcel could be in two different districts.
Could be.
Right. So what are you trying to figure out for this district?
I don't know that it's part of the district, so.
It's in the watershed.
Right. So I don't know why it would necessarily change, according to the engineer's report.
Right.
What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's,
Because it's probably part of all three of these.
how, you really can't separate that out.
Well, it's a very difficult factor to actually calculate something for, because it depends on the sizing of all the tile along the way. Where does it back up? How much? You rarely have all the facts to even analyze it. That's what you run into.
A little more simple when we're only dealing with district tiles.
Yes. And out in the field, you can see that water does set there. And it's lowest area around there. Difficulties putting a value on that. Yeah, it's just hard to do.
So if his parcel was reduced in some form, where would it be made up?
Here's how drainage attorneys say it. You can make adjustments in parcels. You're not going to change the benefit points on any of the other parcels. But bottom line, when you levy, there'll be a small increase on all the other properties as far as the levy. Benefits, they say no because you don't change the points. But technically, there'd be a minor increase on the rest of the properties. when you levy.
How does that get put in the minutes?
You just make, you decide on any adjustment, we get amended pages to Chris, and that's how it's recorded.
Well, in your expert opinion, what do you think?
Small adjustment would not be out of line, just having viewed it in the field, which would be very minimal effect on anybody else then. Tough one to call right or wrong on.
Do we have the numbers here to look at?
Just off the top of my head, I would not go, I want to just throw out 10% adjustment.
How many acres in there?
36%?
It's
No, in the whole district.
Oh, the whole district?
So there's a lot.
This is lot 7. There are 2,040 acres.
7.
Yeah,
So you're not even talking 10%.
and this is, keep in mind, this is lateral 5 and 7, it's not the entire district yet. There was money to be levied on these, so we pushed on these to get these taken care of.
And then will that affect his value on lateral 5 also then? Because his lateral 7 pays into lateral 5. So would it change both classifications?
The lateral 7, I would say not to reduce that because it's all, everything in 7 is reduced significantly in 5 because they only use a very small portion of the ditch. So I think those adjustments are already built in on all the properties in 7 that drain into 5. I think that's been taken care of. It would be such a small number, it's not worth dealing with.
So right now his 2 parcels have, how do you figure that, the percent?
Yeah, if you decide to make an adjustment, we'd probably adjust his points or units, whatever you decide on. And then when that is adjusted in our computer program, everything else gets adjusted accordingly. So, yeah, I would do it with the units or points, whatever adjustment you did. Dollars wouldn't be appropriate because that's going to change. The total amount in the, next to the last column on the right will change minutely. The biggest thing would be in the points or units.
Well, the elements, we take the lead on it.
So we,
Right now, we're in public hearing.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's opinion.
The decision would be a lot easier if it was a county tile. It's a private tile. It's, what other landowners think? You guys heard this was your land, would you want the same thing?
Should we just ask them to comment on the public hearing and then discuss it afterwards?
Yeah. Any other comments?
Well, as I said, I'm not asking for the end of the earth. I don't expect no drainage, I expect a paper drainage. But the circumstances where the water comes from is the issue. It doesn't percolate through the soil, it's runoff from the, goes into the, it's getting out there. You'll be there after a rain, no water, and then 3 or 4 hours later, we got it halfway up the fence post. So it is extenuating circumstances, as Rick has indicated to you. Your engineer has verified it through the former property owners. I just want you to consider it because now is the time. This doesn't change later. It's reclassification. Now is the time to talk about it. So I thank you for your consideration and do what you can. You know, if Rick doesn't think it should be included in lateral 7, then so be it. But it would be in lateral 5 then, correct, Rick?
Okay, it all drains through 7 to 5. It's how I describe it.
Yep.
So.
And this would be in regard to lateral 5 reduction, correct, Rick?
No, this is
Lateral 7.
Lateral 7.
Yep. 5 is already 7 is already reduced. The properties in 7 that drain into 5 are already reduced significantly because they use so little of lateral 5. I feel we've got that taken care of.
So this is going to be in regard to lateral 7?
Yes.
the one parcel in 27, section 27.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, well, thank you. Now's the time to talk about it. If it was just basic drainage out in the country, there'd be no change. It's not. So, thank you. You can keep that map if you need to. Okay.
Well, make a motion to close the classification public hearing for DD 11, lot 5, lot 7.
I'll second it.
Being seconded by Terry to close the public hearing for reclass on DD 11, lot 7. All in favor, say aye.
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 So you want to make any changes at this time? Or?
Well, I suppose I have talked to a couple other landowners that don't have to be in front of everybody when they talk about changes similar to this, and they didn't seem to think that it was fair. I didn't use any names, I just told them the situation. And but at the same time, if the city of Thompson's water is backing up in your field, it is you suggested a 10% reduction? Was that?
Yeah. So you're recognizing there's an effect there, but not significant.
This is
do with your classification that we do.
It's just a continuation of the other hearing.
It's just we did it. Show them what we did. I don't care if you do it, but I can see where if you have landowners that aren't.
No, they didn't get agitated or anything like that. They just.
It's your district, so I mean, it's. What do you want to do?
Well, I mean, it's fairly evident that the water is coming from somewhere else. It comes up after the fact. I mean, it can rain, and then there's no water there, and then it starts to come up later as the water gets there from Townsend, and we have had 2 blowouts in there. There must be some kind of a pressure in that area, which has it been brought in the past? I mean, this problem has obviously been there for years.
It hasn't been yearly, however, backwards water is not how that isn't how tile is
coming
laid.
up between the joints and
I mean, it
cavitates. And
it depends on the pressure, guys, and we've had pressure. But, when you're getting water that's not percolating through the soil, but coming, obviously, as, unrestricted pressure fast, things happen, And, it's a main, it's got to be maintained, and it will be. We've respected it. We didn't farm over it, but, these are circumstances that are not in regard to your basic soil evaluation map for, reclassification.
You're not unique, though, to this situation this year.
I have it by Buffalo Center as well. I did draw it to the attention of the reclassification at that time. They explained to me how they did it. You know where it is, Bill. It's right by you. And we went on in life. But now is the time to talk about it. I mean, if you're reclassifying the others, you'll have to consider them as well if they come to you. That's the job, and that's why we're here. That's why we're talking about it. I don't expect zero. I haven't asked for zero. That it's just 10% on. See, it's a 40 less the building. Some buildings that are an old thing there, so it's like 36 acres. We're not talking a lot of money. I don't know if it'd be $100. I don't know. But now's the time to talk about it with reclassification. So.
Well, if the engineer seems to, you're recommending that there's possible 10%.
I think that's worth considering. I just did a rough calculation how it might affect another property for this. I picked one that would be $1,000 now. It'd increase it $1.50. So the effect on other properties is very minimal. Dealing with the situation as the ground sets, I think a small adjustment would be appropriate.
So what would happen if that tile that's not ours and it's private and they decide to make it bigger because the land, somehow they think they should just make it bigger and then it never affects Gary again? Then what do we do? Raise it back up?
If they make it bigger, then you'll have more water yet.
That is correct, because it all comes my way when they go through the low area and hook up.
I'm just wondering, what would happen if it made his life better by doing something different than...
That's a question for the engineer.
Here's what you run into. The code talks about benefit, and benefit is not affected by private tiles, supposedly. That's what they say. Everybody has the right to pattern tile. Mm-hmm. You don't hold that for or against them. If they put in private tile, you still are basing the classification on the benefit from having a county system closer to you. That's when you look at improvement projects, you're paying for getting that closer to them. That's why if they're a long distance from the county tile, we reduce them because it costs them money to get there. So,
there's a lot of situations out there now where there's been pattern tiling and you've got to wait for all the water to drain out of that field before the guy in the low ground is going to. Yeah. So there's a lot of situations where this just doesn't include a city.
Right.
There's just, you've got a lot of other people's acres.
Yes.
Dumping in.
Very common. Yeah. That's why it's hard to deal with. It's out there everywhere.
So then if you start giving breaks here, then you got to start giving breaks for other people that have got to live around, guys that have got the high ground that pattern tiled it.
It's a tough call.
Yeah, it's
only in reclassification and only if it comes to you. But this is this is the city immediate runoff. I wouldn't. I have many circumstances I could bring to you, Bill, where I'm getting the high ground water.
Oh no, you've got more sorry than everybody does.
I've got it. It blew out so bad it went up halfway up a hill. from a neighbor that tiled above us. That's nothing I can change, nor can you, and I'm not asking you to. Even in reclassification, it's still based on soil type, other than the extenuating circumstances of immediate runoff from the city. So,
If that, this might answer it, if this situation would have been brought up when you did the reclass, would you, what would?
We had probably made some adjustment. I rely on the commissioners a lot, on their feelings on it. So my impression is maybe a small adjustment. Again, not taking into account the private tile, it's hard to do very much.
I think we have enough information to go forward. So.
Yeah, well, what do we,
There's a motion up there.
We gotta rescind that one.
all right, I'll make a motion to rescind the approval of the Commissioner's report for DD 311, Lot 5 and Lot 7, as presented by James West.
I'll second it.
Motion by Bill, second by Terry to rescind the motion from last week on the approval of Commissioner's report for DD 311, Lot 5 and 7. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Okay, now, a new motion for, to approve the Commissioner's report for DD 311, Lot 5, Lot 7 as amended for 10% on 36 acres for Terry Darst and what was it, section
27.
27?
that's my only property in section 27.
Yeah.
Whatever the acres is, I don't know.
36.98.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Bill, second by Terry to approve the Commission's report for DD 311, Lot 5 and 7, reduction of 10% for 36 acres, is that what you said?
Yeah.
36 acres of Gary Darst. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay. Have to jump down to 10. Bruce.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I handed out some information for you in regards to the North Iowa Area Regional Housing Authority. If you don't know, I am your liaison person for Winnebago County that represents Winnebago County at the North Iowa Area Regional Housing Authority. We meet monthly. The first handout that I gave you is on a single page. Carla got 2 pages, front and back. I don't want to take a lot of your time. You can read where it says, shows the counties involved into the 28E agreement that was established in 1978. Has not been updated or renewed or anything of the sort since then. Some of the questions you could ask yourself for a later time, because I'm going to need a decision from you later, not today probably, is that, you can see that the supervisor representing their respective counties, when they signed that, was way back in, 1978, as far back as maybe that. Whatever, you can read that at your will. Find out when it was done. I mean, I guess it's forever. Ever and ever and ever and ever. I mean, I guess at that time they should have maybe had a window of 5 years and renew it again if all the counties agreed to renew, which they probably would have. But forever and ever and ever, that's a long time. Here's our duties on that first page. You can read through. We've got 2 programs, the public housing program, and we have a voucher program. Public housing program, if you want to go back to the backside or page 2 for Carla, there's some statistics that shows the number of towns that have public housing units. gives a number of units in each one of those towns, and you can read that. It gives a baseline number, whatever. That's for the voucher program. We have 2 programs that we work with on a monthly basis. Getting into I guess the last paragraph talks about, there again, those programs. So once again, the statistics, baseline, our current staffing, this is where this is getting to go, why I'm really here today. We have 2 maintenance people, administrative staff, assistant, we have 1, housing specialist 1, finance director 1, and executive director at the present time, none. I'm not at liberty to go into why we don't have one right now. I'm under a gag order by court. I can't discuss the situation with the past director with you, and so we have no director. She's not coming back. We need to fill that position. That's on the table. We maybe are trying to get by without filling that position. We have a finance director that we put in place as a interim director. By the way, I believe we're the only person in the state of Iowa, only agency in the state of Iowa that has a finance director. We're a relatively small agency in comparison. So we're in the process of trying to figure out what to do to replace the executive director. Right now, the interim director has indicated that she's separated the hours that she spends on her finance director side of this and being the interim director, and maybe 7 to 10 hours a week.
Can you talk about the interim director, the finance director?
That's just what I can talk about her. Yeah.
What does she think she needs to run the organization?
Well, she's going to be retiring, so we need to fill her position, but I'm not so sure that position's going to get filled. That's on the table also. I think I can only give you my opinion about what we're looking at, and hopefully it might end up that way. We can, being we're the only one, or might be 2 in this whole state that has a finance director, why don't we farm that out, sub that out, and have that done? We'd save a dramatically amount of money by doing that.
Have you
a lot of money.
Have you asked her what she thinks say you get another executive director, as the finance director said, the hours she thinks would be necessary to do that position?
Well, like she said, she's doing it now, and she indicated that she spends 7 hours 1 week. 1 week, 7 to 10 hours 1 week being the director. The rest of her time, the executive director. The rest of the time was doing her duties as a finance director. But if we don't replace her by 8-10 months, we could get a CPA firm, hopefully, to handle this. It's a little different than most CPA situations because of HUD and the parameters that they work around, whatever. Carol's very good at doing that, but took her a while to learn this. But somebody else could learn it with her formatting. So I like an ABC, but I'm only one of 9 people on the board. Farm that out. Let's contract that out as contracted services. If we could get a part-time director, would be nice, but that might be wishful thinking. We have talked, as you read through, at the bottom paragraph, with the city of Mason City. We've also talked with the city of Charles City about merging. And that doesn't seem like that's going to work. The Charles City person, the executive director there, as it states that her plate's full, according to her, and it might be, I won't dispute that. and not looking for any additional workload or anything of the sort. The Mason City firm, most people like to maybe take us and only want the voucher program because there's where the money's at. Some money. I'm not sure there's money when it's all said and done for anything. I mean, it's probably a losing deal, but you didn't create it, I didn't create it. What are you going to do with the amount of people in our North Highway area that rely on this type of housing program? You know, I wish there were some other alternatives. We could discuss that all day long. As you know, just for your own reference, it does indicate Forest City. You have you don't have a voucher well, there could be vouchers in Forest City, but you actually have rental units in Forest City.
Isn't Eastgate in that, in Lake Mills?
Eastgate is, and that was sponsored by HUD, but that is not through the North Iowa Area Regional Housing Authority.
Yeah, I thought there was some in Ray too that
There were, Bill, and there were in Joyce, and there were in Thompson and whatever, but they actually are not operated under our board. But the bottom line is we need to replace some employees. We've had more employees in the past and they've retired. We have not replaced them. So we're getting down to bare bones here. We're running efficiently, in my opinion, right now for the amount of people we have there. And I'd like to keep it running efficiently and not replace the finance director. That's a goal of mine. I think it is of some of the other board members. Ultimately, the best deal would be if we could find somebody who wants to work part-time and have the experience as a executive director, which would be probably pretty hard to do. But if we do have to get a executive director, worst case scenario, then by not replacing the finance director and sub that out and not pay the executive director the money we were paying the past executive director, which I think could be favorable, that could happen, we save huge amount of money, bottom line. So we wanted to bring this to you because Marlon March is on the board, and really for you, I think each of these county supervisors need to know, according to Merwin, and I agree and concur with him, that we need to come back to our board of supervisors. So all 9 people on the board are going to a meeting like I am here today, telling you about NYRA. And if you care, but I don't know if you want to have a lot of input. I don't know if you want to continue on with a 2080 agreement. What if all the counties said, or 3/4 of the county said, you know, we don't want to continue on with a 2080 agreement. 2080 agreements can end. They're not forever and ever and ever. That's why I thought they should have had a 5-year renewal every 5 years. Let's renew and revisit what's going on and renew and see what we want to do. At some point in time, if it really cost Winnebago County lots of money and it was growing and growing and getting out of hand because of poor management, wouldn't you want to opt out maybe? At some point in time, yeah. But then you got to consider about what are you going to do with the people that leave them in the cold or whatever. You understand what I'm talking about. What do you do? But I'm going to come back, and I don't know if I have to come back, but I wanted to leave you this information. I want you to visit, read that, study it to some degree. But the bottom line is we got to replace somebody. At least one person. I don't back to reiterate, I don't believe we're going to replace the finance director. We could hire that for about maybe, I'm going to guess, for about $15,000, under $20,000. And I'm not going to tell you what we're paying now. But it's a lot different. But she does a good job. Don't get me wrong,
Do you
guys.
think some of the duties of the finance director can be done by the administrative director?
Oh, is it?
If you farm out the other part?
Yeah, we farm out the finance side of this thing. It really makes it easy for that executive director to do that job, and we know we don't need a full-time person. We get told right from the staff itself that, 7 to 10 hours, and the past director in 1 year missed over 100 and some days. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's it. So you can, and the reason I said that was because it rectifies what I'm telling you, that it's in correlation with what our finance director, Carol, is telling us, that she spent 7 to 10 hours. Well, okay, maybe some week, what if she spent 20 or 15? But, hey, that's a long ways from 37 and a half or 40 hours a week. So why wouldn't we look for a part-time? But Terry, I'm not sure we're going to be able to find a part-time person, especially if they're 30, 40 years old and have the degree to do that. They're looking for a full-time job. If we get somebody 65 years old that's already worked somewhere and wants to retire, and they did, and they said, hey, I'd just like something else to do, maybe like looking for a needle in a haystack, to find that person. But my ultimate comment is board members, no matter what we do, we don't replace that finance director, we are going to do nothing but save money on salaries, and not even including yet the IPERS and the unemployment and the vacation and all the other stuff that goes with it. So I think we can be in a win-win situation there, Bill, but it's undetermined. We're just seeking. We're going to do a first interview on a candidate for the executive director. That'll be coming up. But the first thing we wanted to do was meet with our prospective supervisors. Our next meeting is the 26th of June. And that's the time that we don't want to make any decision prior to that, because if you decided as supervisors for Winnebago County, well, I'm not sure we want to continue, well, then what are we doing interviewing? But you're not the only county, keep in mind. What if the majority of counties said we don't want to continue? And I have no idea what they're going to tell us. I wouldn't know. There's no way anybody could know at this point in time. I'm just here telling you what situation we're in right now, what we're trying to do to rectify it, and continue on. If you continue on, yeah, I mean, that's okay. But there's a lot to this job, I can tell you.
So what would you like from us right now?
Study this and in time report back to me at your convenience and tell me what Winnebago County would like to do. Would they like to continue on with a 2080 agreement? You might probably put in there that, yeah, we would if that was the case, but we'd like to have it on a renewal in some sort of time frame. Not, there's a sunset. It's not forever. Otherwise you run into the same thing, what is going to happen. Not that it didn't work, because it's been working, but I don't know that it should be for everything.
Where do we go for the information? Say we did cancel our 2080 agreement. Where can we go to find out how do we take care of these people in Winnebago County?
I can only tell you that I guess, and that's brought up at our meeting, people believe that, well, HUD's not gonna let them go out in the cold. Something's gonna happen. Somebody's gonna step up and it's gonna get taken care of one way or the other if the counties aren't involved. But I don't know the answer to that, but that's a good question, Mike.
What's the difference between the Eastgate apartments and the ones that are through this program in Fort City? Because it's working there in another way, right?
Another way, they're all managed by,
Could this be done in that same manner?
I suppose it could be, Terry. They're all managed by independent management firm that rents those out. And, but also when you state that, they don't do the voucher program. That management firm that rents out Eastgate and Lake Mills or wherever it might be, they manage those apartments in Lake Mills. They have nothing to do with vouchers. So if you owned some apartments and you sent in and you got eligible and you qualified for a voucher program, Section 8 housing, and you wanted to have tenants apply under Section 8, then you're going to get subsidized and your rent is going to be coming from HUD. Now, the employees that we have, keep in mind, they are not state funded. They're funded through HUD. The state of Iowa does not pay their wages. We get money from HUD every month, and that's how they get paid. They're not state employees. That's why I had some disagreement with some of the employees that being they weren't, and that has nothing to really do with this, but I said, hey, you're not state of Iowa employees. Why are you eligible for IPERS? And they said, well, we're public employees. Oh gosh, I thought somebody was sleeping at the switch years ago at the legislature, in my opinion, but other people might agree with those people that are working for HUD. Gee, for Christ, come on. But here and there, I just need a decision from you by the 26th of June when I go to the meeting, that if you'd like to continue on. I wished I could tell you what I thought other counties that are part of the 2080 agreement are going to do. I just couldn't tell you. You might want to visit with maybe some of the other county supervisors, and I don't know if they have an opinion, because that's why I'm going to the meetings instead of you. You're not involved with it that much.
Well, from what I read, it said that we couldn't be a part of the board. That kind of missed me, that Merlin's on the board.
Yeah, I know. I'm the only board member, by the way, to bring this up. The only board member that doesn't put it in for getting paid mileage to go. I said, no, I will not take any money. I'm doing this for free. The only one. I said, all of you ought to do the same. You ever belong to live in a small town? I said, you belong to the volunteer fire department, the volunteer ambulance, the volunteer whatever, and this should be a volunteer deal. So, just so you guys know, I go many trips and free.
Do we want to put this on our agenda for the 19th of June to discuss it further and give it some direction?
But maybe, and visit with some other supervisors, Terry, at your meetings. Just call them and say, hey, what do you think of this? If you know anything about it.
We can come back with our information and discuss it.
I'd just like some support from you, because my vote will be to, I guess, continue on to try to find a resolution to our problem. We gotta do something. We can't have that thing run without a...
The other thing would be to look at other areas like ours. What did they do?
Yeah.
How are they doing it?
Yeah. And we've done that too.
Okay.
We've looked into that too, so.
We'll put that on the agenda.
Thanks for your time. If you have any other questions that you want to talk to me privately about or give me a call, I'd be happy to visit with you about it.
Okay,
Thank you.
the 19th. That'll give him a week ahead of time to.
Yep.
Okay. Back to 3. Mr. Hunt.
I'll give you a copy of the report. This is one with a long title in DD1, but it's Sub 1, Lat 2. And this is getting it in a formal form, is how I describe it. You probably remember the location, but I'd like to include a location map in the back of the report to just get you oriented to where we're at in the world. You've talked about this one enough, you probably remember. But brief history, we found an engineering report dated back as far as 1899. Now the earliest entry for actual work on one, I believe, is 1909. So a few years in there, probably getting established. Think how that was back then with records and lack thereof. The landscape in Iowa looked totally different than it does now. It's half swamp or wetlands. We calculated the capacity of the existing tile system. The very upper end of this is just over a 1/8 inch drainage coefficient. So 1/4 of the minimum we'd recommend today. All the rest of it is 1/8 or less. So the existing system stinks. It's just really small. So what we do in cases like this typically is we look at 2 systems, 1/2 inch coefficient and 1 inch coefficient. Just as a reminder, 1/2 inch coefficient will carry away 1/2 inch of runoff in 24 hours. And 1 inch coefficient will carry away 1 inch of runoff in 24 hours. I stress runoff because if it's not saturated conditions, some of it will soak in and not run off at all. But this is under wet conditions. If you get a 1/2 inch of rain, to run off in 24, and the same for 1 inch, carry off 1 inch. Most of the systems are going to 1 inch when there's a new project. For 25 or 30% more money, you get twice the drainage. So a lot of them have been to 1 inch. Matter of fact, we had a bid letting this morning in Palo Alto County, and I took a call before I came in here. They got landowner input, and they voted to go with a 1 inch coefficient on the letting we had this morning. So it's very common anymore. We get into the costs on this on page 2. And you can see that the largest pipe for the 1/2 inch coefficient is 30 inch. And it graduates down to, we have a small portion of it that's as small as 12 inch. I'm going to be interested in comparing the bids we got this morning to my estimates here. We try to be slightly high. We don't want to be too high to scare people off from the project. We want to be pretty accurate, but slightly on the high side. So I will be comparing that this afternoon and see how those bids came out. Just a point of interest, concrete pipe suppliers are notorious for not getting the contractors their best price until the last minute. And that happened in the Palo Alto job this morning. They were getting calls. Contractors were working on the bids over the weekend. One of them told me he was phoned and told, take 48% off of the quote we gave you. It's like, why not just give them that price to start with? But they don't. One of the contractors got in trouble a little bit because he hadn't gotten to the bank and he hadn't gotten to bond because he didn't have his final cost. I don't know how he came up with it, but he was coming to the bid this morning with bid security of $10,000 cash. I called our engineer in charge of that bid this morning and warned her, be ready to open an envelope and see $10,000 cash in it. I haven't heard if he followed through with that or not, but he was on his way to the courthouse. So anyway, I get away from our topic here. Half-inch coefficient. You can see the items I've included. Keep in mind this is not final design, but we're usually quite close in our preliminary compared to the final. Again, largest size in half-inch is 30-inch, smallest 12-inch. We go through all the calculations. We had 10% contingencies. That's happens in nearly all estimates engineers do. There's some uncertainty in this, especially when it's not the final design yet. So we include that as a little bit of a cushion. We've got engineering, classification. We've got some easements and interest. So grand total is $329,000. Average cost per acre based on approximately 538 acres of about $612. We've seen some of these built at $600 to $800 an acre. People are realizing more and more what the drainage does for them. So I went through the same process with the 1-inch. The size jumps to 36-inch. I always think it's interesting. To double the capacity, we only have to go from 30-inch to 36-inch. That's where you gain more drainage for less money. So 36-inch the largest, 15 the smallest. Go through the same things with contingencies, engineering, classification, easements, interest. This comes to $833 an acre average cost. I've been including in our reports now what this would cost per year per acre, just to give people an idea. This is based on your current interest amount. For example, on page 4, near the top, after I gave the total of $448,000, if you spread this out over 20 years, it'd be $67 an acre per year. If you spread it out just over 10, it's $108 per acre per year. Makes it more affordable for people, is how I guess I'd say it. So, system's greatly undersized. You talk 1/8 inch drainage coefficient or less, when today's minimum standard would have to be considered probably 1/2 inch. So it needs a lot of help. This report is officially being submitted today. What you need to do is have a formal hearing on it, give notice to the landowners. It has to be at least 40 days out. I have a couple of conflicts. You could do it as early as July 10th, but I've been going on the DNR River cleanup a couple of days every year, and that happens to fall on that date. It'll be 40 days. And then I have something else, 17th. I guess what I'm saying is if you need the formal hearing, I'm looking for maybe the 24th of July or the week after that even. Now, this one, I don't know, you talked about maybe an informal meeting with this. You have to have the formal. You don't have to have an informal. So you can go with just the formal, and we can answer questions ahead of time. I encourage Chris to give out our number. We can answer a lot of questions ahead of time.
Well, we could probably do that today, can't we? Get some preliminary.
Right.
I'm sure there's some questions here.
What I did also was I did a remonstrance calculation for everybody, and I've already given it to the landowners because I want them to be aware, obviously, what their options are. I would put this with the I would send this with the letter so they would know.
Just a reminder, you need a majority of the landowners owning at least 70% of the land to meet the remonstrance. This is a good summary to have.
So we are a landowner, but I'm not including us as far as any acres or anything like that. So it would be 7 of the 13 landowners who own more than 410.8 acres.
The objections have to be filed at or before the hearing, formal hearing, to would be part of the remonstrance consideration.
And as you can see, like the Corey and Tracy Cox, I would need both of them to say no. I don't just need one of them, I need both of them. Same with Gordon and Sharon, Dennis and Rebecca Salmonson, Robert and Diana Horn. They would each need to be a vote.
So each parcel is a vote? Or
Each landowner is a
each
vote.
landowner is a vote?
And the way that these are set up is, it's in the records as Gordon and Sharon, so they get 2.
Okay.
And it's Dennis and Rebecca, so they get 2. But it's Ron Peterson, so he gets 1. And Sharon Johnson is 1.
Yeah, if one landowner owns 10 parcels, they're still only considered one landowner.
But it gets all those acres,
There you go, good point.
so.
Okay, you said to go to a 1-inch, correct? Would be $800 and some dollars.
Yes,
So the total acres that you own, is it gonna be based on that? Like Ron Peterson has 97 acres, is he gonna pay $870 some dollars on that 97 acres?
not necessarily. The reclassification will determine if he's above or below that.
So then you get down here to Gordon and Sharon K. Anderson at 170, they're gonna pay on the whole 170 acres.
Yes,
Yes.
as long as that's what's in the watershed, and that's what Chris was doing.
And I had done a previous, a preliminary, but the numbers are different now that he's added in engineering costs and everything like that. So I can rerun that also.
Could you?
Yes, I'd be glad to, so that you would know exactly what your portion would be.
Yeah.
And I can send that with the letters also.
It's gonna cost somebody $150,000 plus, and somebody else very little.
Right, so in the case of 392,000,
And have you gotten all the reports back for,
the NRCS, no, I've only had 2 received.
so there's probably some of this that's classified farmable wetlands that probably can't improve anything. They can maintain it, right, but they can't improve it.
Right, and that would be up to the NRCS. Mhm. So in the case of a $392,000 estimate, Sharon would owe $120,000 of that.
Sharon Johnson.
Yes. Ron Peterson would owe $58,000, and Gordy and Sharon would be $81,000. And that's just the landowners that are here right now. So.
Thank you.
That's what we have.
What was the engineer's cost on something like this?
That was in that report. It is somewhere in here.
I know you said you'll get us that information, but I was just curious. what
Oh,
the
sure.
total was.
Sure.
Total engineering?
Yeah.
Well, we put engineering, legal, and publication together. And I've estimated those together to be $64,000.
Earlier, I was talking to Terry, and he says that above amount has to go to an engineer firm. What is that dollar amount?
Well, and any improvement has to go to engineering.
To do an improvement, you have to have an engineer, so there's no way around
But
that.
on a repair, what is it to require an engineer?
Right, it's almost, I think it's almost 150 before you need an engineer, but we don't do that as a county. We do that much lower. But,
Amber Alert.
So could have this been reclassified as a repair?
The farthest you can take a repair is replacing, like if a line is just falling apart, you can replace it with the same size at the same slope and still call it a repair, even though it's new tile. But it's same size, same slope, you can call it a repair. Anything that improves or increases the flow is called an improvement.
But in a repair, if you're replacing clay tile with a corrugated tile, it's actually going to get, you can allow a little bit bigger because your flow isn't as smooth.
Right, yeah, you just have to get approval on it, yes, correct. Like flow, yeah. So we have one who was a repair a few years ago in Emmett County. We put in 2 tile because there wasn't much cover. We got approval to do 2 tile, but the combined capacity was still the same.
So this is not putting in a non-perforated tile through the whole system, is it?
Yes, because we rely on the pattern tiling and the lines run by the landowners to pick it up.
Clay tile that's there takes water. A non-perf tile will not take water.
This won't take a lot. This is to carry the water, not really collect
But why
it.
do you put the non-perf in?
Because it's to carry the water, not collect it. Even if you put this in as perforated, it'd still only draw, 50 feet each side?
That's 50 feet on each side.
Yeah.
And we got some land that sits, this tile goes all the way through, that there'll be 100 feet, it will not draw from that.
Is it tiled now?
Yes, it's got the clay tile in there, but that runs through this spot. But I would recommend that this gets put in with perforated tile. Non-perf does not drain anything.
It's very slow, I would say, yes. This is designed to be a 100-year system minimum, and it's the collectors, it's not the water, the lines that pick up the water. That's.
Okay, so what's the alternative if you want to make it perforated?
We've bid some plastic perf, but with the rock that would be required to get the same life, it ended up more money actually. What we've done in Palo Alto County, in cases like this, as part of the project, we'll run a smaller perf along the side. It's a parallel, smaller pipe to do the drainage he's talking about.
How close, like this far away?
Oh, no, I mean, we'd have it.
Wider trench?
Yeah, well, it'd be a separate trench because they could plow it in,
Fast.
actually, and get the price down considerably. We did several of the lands that way on one just south of Gretinger here about 3-4 years ago.
So that would be an additional cost to us.
Yeah, but what's it cost you to get 4 or 5 inch per plowed in? It's very economical.
But what I'm getting at is the tile that's there, the clay tile drains.
Right.
Now you're gonna put in a non-perf tile that does not drain.
This is a parallel one, right?
So
Yeah, this is a parallel.
We're not eliminating the
you're
other.
not gonna eliminate the one
No.
that's there.
No. And the question comes up once in a while, what do you do in the future if something happens to that one? We run a small plow-in perf plastic to replace it. Very economical.
Instead of repairing the other one, you would.
Sometimes they get to that point, you're better off just to replace it.
So that lateral, is it 3 that comes down the hill there from the northeast? Will that tie into the new one, or just be?
If it's not directly, we'll have it tied across there so it can use either of them.
Okay.
In a few locations, this one isn't a real long one, so there won't be many cross connections, but we do cross connections so that you're using both tile as long as you possibly can, with the emphasis put on the new one for carrying the water. Yeah, it ended up real economical to do those, the parallel perfs in Gretinger area.
So what you're saying is you're not going to take out the current clay tile? You're
Right.
just adding the new
Right. Now, yes,
concrete?
there's cases where the old tile is in such bad shape that you do take it out. I haven't heard that on this one. I'd be interested in any
The
of
problem area is by Sharon's Grove, or the Grove.
Oh, yeah.
Grove, I guess it's where it's plugging from the tree roots.
Sure.
Something's gotta be done there.
Yep.
We've
Yep.
replaced some of it, but it still has problems.
We have one in Humboldt County that they haven't started just because of the weather, but we're following the old trench all the way because it's in terrible shape.
Have you been up on this project?
I've been by it,
I think the other day there was still water on the north side of Sharon's. And I would think that there's probably an issue still on the north side of the woods. I believe there's an intake that goes into Horns Grove. And if there's an intake in the grove, would mean that it's full of roots.
Yeah.
And I don't think that has ever been checked on the north side of that woods. I think it's all been checked on the west side, which was plugged maybe 15 years ago with tree roots, maybe 20 years. and they replaced that, the county did. And Jerry Rugnes just dug it up 200 feet of it and replaced that, and that was plumb full of tree roots, what they replaced before. So isn't it a possibility that that's the issue that Ron Peterson is having? It contributes, but the biggest issue is it's no more than a fourth the minimum size recommended today. But yeah, you're probably right. That's contributing. I would bet on it. Tree roots will go as far as the branches are out. It's crazy, if not farther. And Jerry Rugnes has told me that he just fixed a tile, 12-inch tile, non-perf, sealed in Thompson. And he put that in just a few years ago, and it's completely plugged with tree roots now.
It's hard to seal it tight enough.
And he repaired that. And I'm assuming, since Sharon is still having water problems on hers, there's still an issue out there with tree roots. But I guess there hasn't been enough digging up there to find out what the problem is.
Yeah. At this stage, we haven't been out to dig up the tile, and that sounds like more of a work order type item if you're gonna check for roots, then pay an engineer to be involved at that point.
No, I'm just getting to the point that there's probably still some roots in that, since they found it in the new line that they replaced on the west side.
Could be.
Oh, I know, I haven't lived there for 20 years.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't always know what's going on.
No, I
Just
know.
what the ones that rent the land, well, Randy and Sue, and
Yep.
they have said they've been tiling off and on those 20 years, and they do it themselves. So I don't really know
and
what's
I
going
think,
on half the time. I didn't even know what that
Yeah, I think the county,
being worked up.
took
Who
care
did
of
it?
digging up that, replacing Jerry just did it here this spring. But I still think there's an issue farther up because Sharon never held that much water that long, which she is now. And anybody knows if there's an intake in a grove, it's probably full of tree roots.
Well, part of the problem is we had evidence of, at some point this spring, the water was actually backing up into her land.
And Jerry explained with the pressure and everything that does happen until it clears out. But if you go down into that ditch too, there's no water moving hardly in that ditch. You can't even, before you could see the water coming from the culvert, and now you don't hardly see anything moving.
Keep in mind that system was a 1/8 inch coefficient when it was new. We're talking age here and deterioration besides. And I think he's probably right, tree roots, just from the description he's given.
So what would you guys like to see done then? I mean, if you didn't want this,
What if Thompson tells you can't make the improvement?
then we can't make
Then
the
you
improvement.
can't.
So then you've spent $70,000 on engineering.
No, that's why that's gotta be done first.
That engineering has to go first.
No. The NRCS.
We haven't spent $70,000 on it.
Okay.
No.
Not to get
No.
to this point. So if the soil conservation says we can't improve because of farmable wetlands,
Then we're done.
the engineer bill is dropped.
Well,
It's not there yet.
there's no future.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because there's a possibility that somebody can't make an improvement.
Mhm. And I've only heard from 2 landowners so far. I've only gotten 2 of them back, and I don't know if you've gotten any in your office.
No.
So,
Corey Cox said he was against it. He called it.
What was that, Terry?
Corey Cox called me and said he was against it this morning.
but I still need to have a
Right.
determination.
Yeah, they're required by law to have the report done and carry it through hearing, and then that's the point where you decide if it goes or not. Okay. And that's another reason we don't go out and dig everything up ahead of time. We can give you quite a good estimate without all that. So rather than that expense. If it goes forward, we'll send a letter out and we'll want to go out and dig up the tile in several locations, but not yet. You don't want that expense yet.
You said you kind of did this a little higher.
Slightly, just a little, slightly higher than I think it might
Can I
end
ask
up.
about how much possibly higher?
Only about 5 or 10% probably. Once in a while we'll get an outstanding bid and they'll beat us, but I've been slow to up my unit prices on this dragging my feet, but concrete pipe and plastic pipe have both gone up a lot in the last few years.
But then you just said the guy, yeah, it went up in a few years, but then the guy just dropped his bid 48%.
That was the material price.
Yeah.
And I'm basing it on what I think their final price is gonna be to the contractors.
Yeah.
So, it's a bit of a game with the contractors. When I do an estimate and the contractor's asking what my estimate was, I try and keep that down a little bit, playing a little head game with them there.
With that good competition in the ditch cleanouts, but you're not as reliant on material prices.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Fuel's their biggest expense. Yeah. Well put.
So if somebody's out wetlands, then they can't do it then?
No, that can still be done. I'll tell you what most counties are doing is they're mitigating the wetlands with acres somewhere else. They at least like to present that option to the landowners, because if it's small enough area, it'd still be worthwhile to go forward. So that isn't necessarily a cutoff point. It gets us more of the information we need for you to make the decision if you're going to go forward.
Can you explain, though, how much that mediation could cost?
It's still $12,000 an acre, but they're talking about that going up.
That's if you want to mitigate
Yeah.
your farmable wetlands. So if you have farmable wetlands, say of 12 acres, it's going to cost you $120,000 to improve it.
I don't have wetlands, so.
So,
Yeah, that's possible. Now, every county we've worked in, and that we're working in that the district has been paying half of that mitigation cost in order to get the project done. So end up costing the landowner about $6,000. There's still a lot of things to talk about here, and that's the reason for the public hearing. Get questions ahead of time and at the hearing.
Well, I think the wetland determination is gonna say a lot.
Oh, it will. Oh, yeah. It's in your favor. There's tile there. NRCS has been favorable. And one ruling that's changed fairly recently is that you're able to determine wetlands based on the tile system that's there if it was in perfect condition. For example, if they go back and look at aerial photographs and see water standing several years, they may determine that that's because the tile that's there is not working. And now you can do that. You can assume that tile's in good shape. How would that affect how the water sets? So that's been favorable in determinations recently.
but it also uses soil types, right?
Yes, yeah, hydric soils and all kinds of things they get into. So yeah, this report is this one step, and then you need to set the formal hearing. You bet.
So on this one, we, to accept the report then, action?
Yes.
I guess I'll, make a motion to accept the, engineer's report of DD 1 sub 1 lat 2, improvement project.
I'll second that. Motion by Terry, seconded by myself to approve the possible action for DD 1 sub 1 lat 2. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Set the public hearing.
Is it July 24th?
Yes, that's okay.
I'll make a motion to set the public hearing date for DD 1 sub 1 lat 2 improvement for July 24th at 9 a.m.
Second that. Motion by Terry, seconded by myself to approve, or to set the public hearing date for DD 1 sub 1 lat 2. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, so for you landowners, what would you like me to send? I mean, what I would like to send to you is estimates on both prices, remonstrance, and a copy of this report. Is there anything else I can do for you?
So who contacts the NRCS then?
You guys have to.
Landowner has to.
Yeah. I can't do it for you.
Okay.
You should have gotten letters.
Well, we already,
Yeah, okay.
you've already gotten it back. Could have. It was delivered here.
Have faith in you, you have it.
Yeah, it's right here. So right now I have Ron Peterson and Gordy Anderson. Sorry, it's right here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Thank you.
So that's good for you guys if I send you all that information? That's good, okay.
Even with a determination of what it might. I give you a card.
That's the one when I said to go to call Thompson? Well, and they may have just not gotten it to me yet, so,
Yeah, I haven't gotten it in the mail either. So
yeah.
You haven't either?
I haven't seen it, no. But, you know, they're busy right now too, so, yeah.
I signed it and everything.
Oh, good. So I should be getting it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure. Yep.
Is that the culvert
Well,
that goes across the
you
road
too.
gonna affect this at all? Being that
No, we should be fine elevation wise, yeah.
How about size-wise? Is it a 36-inch culvert now?
Well, we're carrying through the road with this new one, I'm quite sure. Doesn't the ditch start on the west side of the road for this one? Oh, I'm thinking a different spot.
There's a culvert that goes diagonally across the road, I think.
I know I looked at it and looked like we'd be fine, but I'll verify that again.
Alrighty.
Well, and if you have one, if we're doing a parallel tile, then you're bringing two of them into that one culvert. It's only 36 inch now, maybe it was bigger, maybe it was 42.
I'll have to look at the slope on it and things and let you know.
I was speaking more of the one on the cement road.
Oh, the cement road.
Yeah, that's where it's almost 2 foot, right?
At this.
Yes.
Difference. But that won't affect that.
No.
Alrighty. Consider approval for contract with Jason Westgard for reclass DD 11.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Westergaard for reclassification services for DD 11.
I'll second it. Motion by Terry, second by Bill to approve the contract with Jenkins Westergaard for reclass services for DD 11. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Can you sign that, please?
Terry straightened out the other day.
What's that?
Did you get Terry straightened out the other day?
No,
Or he
I
didn't
actually
get
talked to him for a while yesterday. I drove the bus and he's part of the undercard.
Oh,
I'm gonna stop here today and talk to him.
okay.
I decided to give him a weekend off.
Probably a good plan.
I don't have anything in addition to today.
I don't, we're just talking about it. I called him, that D21 up there in the lab where David's, Terry called me and tried to sternly explain to me that there's 6 foot of water head pressure up there that should be boiling out down below ground where it's dried up now. I got to thinking to myself, right where the water ends is where it goes from, the water's all where the 8-inch is, and then it goes to 10-inch, the water is gone, then it goes to 12-inch. And it just seemed like to me that an 8-inch tile would be able to build pressure on 10-inch and 12-inch, but When I was talking to Terry, I was too busy thinking, you haven't got an answer for it, do you? Yeah.
Who's Terry?
Terry
Hewitt?
Yeah, and he's the one who did the tiling for David's. It's not draining because they didn't get through that 8-inch quick enough, I don't think. But now that everybody else's is down, it'll be interesting to see whether his goes down again. It did last fall. And we got all the moisture again, it's bad.
Yeah, most of DD11 has gone down now on the highway there, except for one spot. Terry Thompson. It just takes a long time.
Oh, Tyler finally catching up. Yeah.
I've got to go up there and look down the intake again. Now that the water is gone from down on both sides of the blacktop there, and see how well it's still flowing coming down from the water's up and off to the west. And there's a big slough ground back there, so set aside acres or whatever. Unfortunately, the tile runs through that, but it's not on our perforated tile going through there because that's the repairs. Holland made last year was, and then his private tile is hooked right into the end of the county tile, so he thinks there's still a problem in the middle of Lukehouse Field, but it's just funny that the water's disappeared right to the point where it goes 10-inch. He said it was 90% more for a 10-inch over an 8-inch.
Yes.
And then 3 times as much
For a 12-inch compared to an 8-inch. It's amazing what just a couple more inches do for you.
Yeah, no, that doesn't seem like a good much.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the only thing I got going. I guess.
Okay. Scott?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Have you heard anything from Larson Contracting when they're gonna start again?
No, have not. Yeah, I haven't been by it to really pay attention, but yeah, it should be.
Their hole is sitting, and I see the other hole for the other company on lot 2, I think it is sitting over the weekend a mile and a half north.
Okay. Well, the operator was antsy to just keep going, but there was so much flow that it wasn't practical at all. I look for them to be out there real soon again.
Yeah, it's dropping down finally.
Yeah. If I hear anything, I'll let you know though.
I drive by it every day, so I'll see it.
Okay, all
I
right.
see it from the highway over a mile and a half away.
Ah, okay, good.
Consider for approval, you got anything before we?
Just a reminder, we still have our opening posted for the Thompson motor grader operator spot, so we're still accepting applications for that.
Have you gotten any or?
We have some, yep, and hoping for more. We'll welcome all the applications we can get, of course, and then we can start to whittle them down and we'll find a good candidate. I will mention here that I have a 2-week vacation starting June 6th, so I won't be here for a little bit. So I'll hand off some of the things to the guys I work with down there, and shouldn't notice too much of a difference there. They've done it before without an engineer, and they'll do it again.
I have a question for you. I constantly get pressure on why, I think it's R50 that comes down to Highway 9. Why we can't connect that road all the way south to the Bancroft Road. What would the cost per mile?
Oh boy, when we did that estimate for Osmus, what was it, about a $500,000 for
3/8 of a mile?
Yeah. I suppose you could extrapolate that. I mean, it's astronomical what it takes to pave a new road from gravel. And they haven't done it since, I suppose, it would have been the Pilot Knob Road that they'd converted. And those costs would be, outdated by years and years. So without doing an estimate, I would say
just prorate that.
Gotta be, between $500,000 and $1 million a mile.
Oh, it'd be over, because we were only doing 3/8 of a mile by
You know what that was? I'm trying to remember. There's 2 components, up to the corner and then up to the farmstead, and I can't remember.
But I don't think But did it include up to the farmstead?
I know that I did.
Okay.
I wonder if it totaled up to a mile or?
Oh, no, it would have been closer to 5/8 of a mile total, I think.
Maybe it was it. Maybe a quarter mile and 3/8 and it was 5.
It'd be pushing. It'd be pushing.
Terry, I can dig that out and send something to you guys.
Then I can come up with something for it, just so
Yeah.
we know what's good.
It's, every year we get those kind of handful of ones, you know, Highway 9 off the junction going, further east
I
and
think that all the time.
by Osmus.
Well, there's a heck of a lot of traffic on that road.
Yeah, I mean, I got no argument about how much
It'd be
traffic's
nice
on a lot of our
to
gravel
do
roads.
blacktop all the way to the,
So the point came up, out in Wisconsin, there's a heck of a lot more paved roads out
Sealcoat
there.
roads, yeah.
Not sure what they do different, why.
Indiana's the same way. They hardly have any real gravel roads. They're
Because
all,
their taxes are twice as much as ours.
yeah, that's,
Jason had a house that was half the size of the house that we live in now, and he paid twice the taxes on it. That's the difference. I mean, you gotta pick what you want. Do you want to have lots of taxes, or?
as long as we're on it, I have a whole bunch of people that live on the Mill Road that would really like at least 3 or 4 miles north of that.
Yeah.
Maybe 2, so.
Yeah, let's make a list and then put it in the file.
I suppose the real way to start this would be to put industry on each of those roads. Have paved up.
That is one thing that Indiana has a lot more of that we have.
Rural industry.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer to it all is once we get our current paved roads, all of them in either good or better condition, then we can consider that. But, at that point, we'll never get there.
The cycle is.
Yeah, the cycle's too quick, so we'll never get there, unfortunately, unless something dramatic
One point I
changes.
brought up to these people was that it's more maintenance at times because you're gonna have to salt that hard surface road to make sure it's safe too, where you didn't on the gravel road.
Yeah, the ones in Indiana, a lot of them are also, they're paved, but they're very narrow. They're not as wide as a lot of our gravel roads are. I mean, I don't know if you wouldn't want to meet another truck when it was soft. One of the two.
I'll tell you what, if you drive from here to Decorah and take a little cut across road, kind of in sort of some Amish country there, they have some seal-coated roads. Do we want that? I don't think so. They're hard to take care of after they start to settle. Yeah.
Through Mitchell and Howard County, yeah, I've driven that. Or tried to.
Yeah, I mean, I think hats off to our operators, they take pretty good care of the gravel roads. And I think that's the most economical way to maintain them.
Yeah, you look at that road leading into Leland, and it's just cheaper to turn it back into gravel road than maintain the chip seal. Well, it was my duty to bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Consider approval utility permit for the rake.
This is a notable size project by Alliant Energy to underground most of the power through rake. So they'll be kind of revamping the power to rake from the north and boring and trenching in new cabling through new power through the town. So it affects the road on the north side of the rake, and the east side of Rake, and Gray Street through town, our roads, and then a bunch of the city streets that Rake takes care of.
There's like a bigger power line that's coming in now that they're just gonna take it down, is that it?
I don't know if it's bigger or what. I guess I didn't study it that closely. What I did look at was the locations of the lines and kind of generally what they're doing. I mean, the goal for us is to try to make sure they're out of the way of our future projects, bored beneath the tiles for any kind of future maintenance work, that kind of thing. That's kind of my goal with when I review the utility permits.
We're not going to be affected for any of our drainage up there, are we?
There are tiles that through there.
You got that one.
What I normally do is kind of either send them a map or mark on the drawings where the tile are, because they usually don't come up with they don't show up on locates or anything like that.
All right. probably protecting their drainage structures.
I'll make a motion to approve the utility and foundation permit for overhead to underground conversion by Alliant Energy and Rake.
I'll second that.
Motion by Bill, second by Terry to approve the utility accommodation permit for Alliant Energy and Rake. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Grant Township, Heartland, Kentucky. This will be for odd buildings, I assume, that Annan's gonna put up down by this. Close to the golf course anyway.
It is that same location, so I would assume as much.
You will not do it.
What's that?
You will not do it.
Should I?
One of us.
Oh, no, I don't care. They're within their legal rights to do what they're doing, so there's no need in, making any more of a, I just hope that it works out.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the utility accommodation permit for electric service by Heartland Power in Grant Township, Section 8.
I'll second.
Motion by Bill, second by Terry to approve the utility accommodation permit for Heartland Power in Grant Township, Section 8. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. All right, thank you. CSS.
I think Sandy wanted to call for that.
Yeah. If you wanna sign those permits, I'll take those from you.
Hi, this is Sandy.
Hi, Sandy, we're on your subject.
Okay, I'll be right up.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. You want to do some open forum while she's on her way?
Sure. How long was this person employed?
I don't think very long. There's a couple more. And just a signature. Have I mentioned that my daughter is like the sweetest person and gave me a call for Mother's Day?
Yeah.
Share a lot.
Yep.
So this one must be just
I don't really understand the guy by Britt, why we have to do his, but he keeps saying.
Spreads furniture.
Did you scare everybody away?
Excuse me, I've got some.
So that's why, because he spreads manure in Winnebago County.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, probably right next to the golf course. We're just taking care of some.
I was gonna say,
He's,
what happened to your
Drainage
truck?
is done.
They heard you were coming.
I got scared a lot.
That was Melissa.
Oh.
That was? Yeah, it was.
I didn't recognize it behind
She's got her sunglasses on there, kind of going incognito there.
Alrighty.
Glasses.
Thank you.
Well, what's up?
Well, I put it on the agenda because I think we're at a point where, Sandy sent out the notice that you want to explain.
Well, first of all, I don't know where they get their figures,
Yeah, I don't know, you see different ones every time.
and they sent out to Carla to pay this, and it wasn't paid, but then when we were looking at the budget, there's no way you could pay it because you still have as of end of April, you still have your expenses for May and June. So I don't know how they come up with the figures, that they want money from you. Do they talk to you at all?
We paid the levy.
Yes, you did.
Yes, we did.
We have not paid, they want half of our ending fund balance from our gap report from last year. That's what they want. So it's your guys' call.
But you'd have to amend your budget in order to do it.
We already have the highest
Right.
levy in the state, and they
Right,
want money
Carla?
on top of it.
I don't know, I haven't looked at it, Sandy.
Isn't it too late to do that?
Well, technically you can, but if somebody would object to the budget amendment, then you
That's
can,
my fear.
then you're just stuck.
And the thing is too, even with this, the starting fund balance is 471,000, which is, and whatever you have to pay for that. You still need money to operate in July, August, and September because you don't get your taxes in until, well, like me, I pay the last day of September, so it's October,
Mm-hmm.
It says that the money is theirs, but it doesn't say in there what we have to do.
Well, they told us it was due by May 23rd.
That's what they want.
Yeah.
I don't think they have any, as far as I know, they can have a legal standing. That's why, see, they haven't even started the arbitration with Pursuit yet. By the way, they took my voting rights away last.
That's what
How
I'm
can
going
they
to
do that?
talk about.
Because we haven't paid for this, so. And so the 45 days was the day before the meeting, you got 45 days to, after it's due, before I lose my voting rights. Roger Jackson, I need to have.
I don't think your vote makes any difference anyway.
No, and then, yeah, because obviously the rest of the supervisors aren't concerned with, some of Bob's tactics and the way he does things and the fact that he doesn't seem to be accountable for our county mess. And then there's other ones that all vote yes because they all benefit from
Us paid.
the rural dollars. And so we're in a group that we have no power over where our money goes and is spent.
You said, Sandy, that's difficult for you to read or comprehend?
No, I can read it, I just don't understand where they get well, she said half of the last year's
Right.
gap is what they want.
Right. And so the reason I asked that is, I think Austin Pursuit ought to demand in the county.
Well, they are getting aid, I did forward that. He's having somebody come in that they're hiring, and they're paying money.
On that, I'm saying that the state auditor ought to
Oh,
be.
yeah.
It isn't a forensic audit. It's just a
Right. And they hit that.
touchy-feely. Let's see, I can't look at the agenda again.
Don't you think?
Well, yeah,
This
this
is
is like to me,
involved.
in that letter that I wrote to him, I says, do we need an audit? I'm not sure we do in a sense.
Well, it sure would bring to the forefront it wouldn't cost us anything if the state did it.
Who approves the expenditures for CSS?
Bob and Karen.
See, that's the problem.
Mhm.
Is why isn't the
They're in
board,
everything. They do not want to
why
replace the
isn't the
CFO.
board approving the expenditures? Because that's how government is supposed to work. The board is
They
supposed to
approve it
approve
and
these
put it in front of
things.
us to approve. But we, you can't, you get right before the.
Well, I can tell you, I
meeting,
think
sort
all
it
the
out.
expenditures goes to the board president, like him, but he just signs off. He doesn't know what he's looking at.
And that's the problem.
And that's, yeah, and then they say, well, the Butler County auditor over there reviews it. No, she doesn't. She gets the bills and she pays them. She doesn't review them.
So I'm just reading in our 28E agreement, under section 7, financing, E, the financing of the region is limited to the fixed budget amount. The fixed budget amount shall be the amount identified in the regional service system management plan and budget for the fiscal year. The budget will be for 99% of the funding anticipated to be available. The region may expend all of the funding anticipated to be available. It says the board shall develop a policy to establish an adequate reserve for cash flow and risk management of the regional administration.
Our levy's gonna go up to $50.
What's the limit?
As well.
46,
We're spending
47.
it all a lot faster than we ever thought.
46 or $47.
47, 50
Okay,
or
here we
something
go.
like that.
In the event of a shortfall that results in negative equity position on CSS balance sheet or a negative ending cash balance in the operating budget, each county will provide an amount necessary to cure the negative equity position or negative balance. The percentage of the amount that each county shall be required to contribute based on the county's population.
And see, that's with Cassuth. They paid what their levy was. They just don't want to pay their half of their
Fund balance.
because they had a very sizable fund balance when they entered this.
One time they had an agreement where Bob allowed them not to pay it too.
Okay, any amounts assessed under this division shall be made only upon the affirmative majority vote of all members of the 28E agreement, with each member being entitled to one vote. But then they take our votes away.
I'll admit, I don't know enough about it to make a cogent argument against it, so
You know, I suppose you could tell them that you're going to pay it in July, because we could pay it in July.
Okay, here's the other part of it, suspension of voting rights and services. In the event of a shortfall occurs, as defined in 7, or in the event of any member county fails to make a payment to the region as required under this agreement for 45 days after such payment is requested in writing, then the member county will be deemed delinquent. Then during any period of delinquency by member county in the payment to CSS of any application, such county shall not be entitled to the services of the CSS, nor shall the county be entitled to vote on matters coming before the board unless such delinquency shall be waived by voting by a 3/4 vote of the remaining members. See now, why is it 3/4 for that part, but it's a majority for the other part?
I guarantee you, if it was done all over again, I was in on signing that 28.
What are our options?
Well, I think the options right now is to see what we can do with these counties that want to get out, you know, with Cerro Gordo.
Well, they did their homework when they wrote that legislation to be able to form their own region. They knew the numbers, that the minimum population would be 100,000. And they know that they put in there that contiguous border thing on purpose. That way they hated us, because unless we can get a couple other counties that don't seem like they want to do anything to go with us, we can't go down to Fort Dodge, Webster County. And we need Webster and Cerro Gordo in order to get up to the 100,000 threshold. Yes, we need both of them.
Well, I think without Webster, we're like 97,000, we're 2,000 some short, but that was figures of
Is that
2015.
with or without Saragordo?
With.
With Saragordo, we're still short.
Well, would this be a good case to challenge it in the court?
Challenge what?
The
Well,
statute?
We have to wait and see what Saragordo's gonna do. I don't know for sure where they're leaning.
No, but even if they do, they don't.
Even if they do go, we aren't gonna get the 100,000 threshold.
I think we're close.
Well, we're close, but.
But if we can prove to the court that we are providing our services perfectly, like we should be, and even if we stood alone on one county.
There is no reason to have those stipulations on there other than to make sure that it's as hard as possible for us to take care of ourselves.
Right.
We can hire the same people they hire, the region hires to take care of the people's issues as a big region. Just as a single county, you can do that. But they want the whole thing thrown into one. 0 regions have it all one.
Is this a statute or is it administrative rules that we're operating under?
It's probably administrative rules, isn't it? It was in the law, this 100,000 was in the bill.
It was in the bill.
It was in the bill,
The
so.
legislature just passed it, and they okayed to be able to.
But has the governor signed
But then
it
the
yet?
stipulations they put on there made it really hard for us unless we can get more people.
See, that's a big, big blow to home rule.
Oh, it's huge. We have almost 0 control. We're in a 28-year agreement where we have no control over our destiny.
We're meeting with Saragordo again, June. What?
So what happens if we just quit the region? I mean, and then.
They also put.
Just wait. So what happens if we just quit the region and we just hire Sandy and Bobby back ourselves and Ruth back ourselves and just take care of our own county or take care of Winworth or our little.
DHS won't allow it.
DHS won't allow it.
Well, what are they gonna do to?
Yeah,
They're
What are
gonna,
they gonna do to make us?
they can't make us pay them. They can't make us.
My point exactly for here for a while, but they did put in there that just thought of it, and then you told me I had to wait a second.
Sorry.
That's why I think we should challenge it. But then again,
trouble is, if you
I've
can't resolve your stuff with your current region, then it's up to DHS to determine where you're gonna go, right?
Yeah, so that was it. The DHS, if we can't, and there's one county, well, Pocahontas doesn't want to go anywhere where WHW goes. Because if we go, then they're landlocked and they can't stay with CSS.
Yeah, they can, as long as Wright County doesn't go, or Humboldt. Because they hook onto Humboldt, don't they?
Yeah,
No.
they touch Humboldt.
So they're okay.
But
They're okay.
I didn't think the circle
They're okay.
down there for them.
They're okay.
No, I don't,
Yeah, they do.
because Humboldt,
Humboldt can be contiguous.
yeah, Humboldt isn't gonna touch anybody because
Well, they're
Wright
gonna-
already,
Wright County is not, if Wright County doesn't go and Pocahontas, they're all touching there to Saragordo, aren't they not?
well, if Saragordo goes, I have to see the map,
Yeah, because I was looking at that map earlier.
yeah.
The thing is,
But in theory, if Pocahontas gets landlocked, he has said that they will go to the west region, they don't want to be in a region with us because we've been starting to find out.
Who's the guy over there?
some tall skinny guy,
I can't see his name.
Clarence, is there a Clarence?
Clarence, yeah, I believe it's Clarence.
Clarence.
There's is it Clarence?
Yeah, I think so. It says on here, they're gonna authorize our HR consultant to conduct an organizational audit. Our HR consultant conduct an organizational audit of CSS from November 16th to the present relationship to the budget deficit and pivot reorganization. So they're gonna try and have it proved that I assume that the
But that's
delay
without-
pivot is the problem.
Right, and that's without talking to anybody, but yet we can call him. So I emailed him and said, what is his phone number? So they did send his phone number out.
This will not exceed 5,000, and the report will be presented to the CXS Executive Committee. Discussion and action. So, I mean, it's gonna be kind of an inside job anyway.
Very much so.
And they're gonna come up with whatever facts they wanna put out there to make sure that they can, Bob will end up being blameless. So.
That's why I think you just have to get the state involved. Present the case to them and say, but at the state level, well, I mean, especially in the DHS or whatever. I'm not talking to them, I'm talking to either auditor or attorney general. This is just wrong. I mean, you shouldn't be able to be forced to be in an agreement with anybody you don't want. You should be able to get out of that agreement anytime, or you should be able to, if you want to have an agreement with Webster County, the border touching really doesn't do anything. Everything can be done without a border touching. Especially nowadays, you know, you don't need it. So that's just kind of it's just a kind of a.
How much money do they want, Sandy?
They want $176,003.31.
You really don't know the president, do we?
Yeah, you should have saw the Steely Dagger stairs that I was in.
Well, I appreciate what you're doing. Easy.
Roger come up and thanked me for taking some of those stairs away from me.
Okay, so right now, new region, who do we think we can get?
Well, Hancock, Winnebago, Worth, Cassuth. And with Cassuth goes, Emmett's gotta go.
Webster wants to do something. They aren't going to stay with this
Okay, so
region no matter what.
if Cassuth goes,
Emmett has to go.
has to,
Either go with us or they have to go west.
West.
And they're not gonna go west,
but
but they were there
can
before.
they hold up this region?
Can they what?
Can they hold it up? If they don't agree to go with us,
No, that's their choice is here or west. And they've
Okay,
already
They've
been
already been
west.
west.
And they don't wanna go back west.
I
So
don't know.
I'm just assuming that's, but you know what
They might
happens.
have to go despite.
And they're not happy about
Because
it.
you see, this last legislation went through, it used to be that if you had a previous relationship, then you didn't need to have a continuous border. Now they changed that. So now Emmett, before we could have left, and then Emmett still could have stayed where they're at. Well, now they can't. And that's not right either. Emmett shouldn't have to be able to be a slave to what we decide. That's not right either.
Yeah, because Pocahontas, Humboldt, Wright touches Cerro Gordo.
But if Cerro Gordo goes, then they're landlocked from the rest of the region.
That's true.
See?
Yeah, that's right.
I was pretty sure on that.
She has it, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I was assuming they were, yeah.
Okay.
That's right. I never thought I'd say you were right, but.
so, and where is Wright at? Wright is not convinced?
They don't act like they do, do they?
Yeah, I don't know where they're at. I think they,
But all of it depends on what Cerro Gordo's gonna do. Everything depends on that. And then,
Where they stand right now.
well,
Two are questioning it.
Chris had told Ron that before he was sure it was 80% that those two would vote no. But he said after the meetings we've had, he said that he thinks it's like 35%. So it's closer than it was.
I think if we can convince them that
They don't have.
it's in our, we're looking at the people's best interest.
and Casey Callahan said it at the meeting, he says, he feels our pain as far as, but they have to look, if they're receiving more from these outlying counties, if they cut out part of those rural counties, are they gonna end up losing money? I mean, they might be better off to stay where they're at, financially. It isn't what's right.
But I can tell you, if they lose these counties, Bob cannot afford all those programs he has, because we get very little services from them.
Mm-hmm.
And all of our schools to support all those other programs. So I would think if he wants those programs to continue, they're gonna have to be paying more.
So I told him at that meeting when we had Jan and what's the other guy? Rick. I says, I don't think you're ever gonna come up with a system that where everyone is gonna be happy until every county's population's use of services is reflected in their levy. As close as possible. There is no perfect world, because you can track everybody, and if you've got somebody from Winnebago County that requires services, they end up moving to Saragordo County, they should still be Winnebago County's responsibility.
Yeah, that
Not
changed,
Saragordo.
yeah, that changed a long time ago. It's when you go in, wherever you live is where your residence
I
is.
know that, but how long should that stay? I mean.
Until they move.
If they move to get the services, yeah, I mean, that is, it's a tough one, but,
See, before they had to, when they moved, they still were the responsibility of the other county, and they had to go a whole year without services. So if they moved some other place and were getting services, they were your responsibility.
if they continually got services,
Right,
they
but then
continue
that
to be your
changed, that
responsibility.
changed a few years ago, where once they moved, it was that other county's responsibility, no matter if they had services or not.
Because then you'd be, you know.
And that's where we
Right.
that's where we got in trouble with Duncan Heights. You know, when they were at Duncan Heights, they were in RCF, and so the other counties had to pay. But once they moved out in the community and you closed it, then all of a sudden, everybody that was there from all these other counties became the responsibility of the county where they lived, which was Hancock or Winnebago. So, by the definition of their rules of residency.
So, from what I can figure, we don't have to have Cerro Gordo. If we can get a lot of the western, not including Pocahontas, we've got enough population to do it.
So who do you think you're gonna have?
Well, are you counting Fort Dodge?
Yeah.
We might not get Fort Dodge
But
because
if
there's
we
a county in between them.
If we can get that resolved down there,
If you can get right to go with them.
yeah.
Yeah.
But those, they didn't seem like they were too excited, did
No,
they?
yeah, I haven't seen anything that they've indicated that they want to do anything.
But they're gonna have to come up soon, because you have to give your letter in November to get out, and then you have to start your process for the new region and have that application by February.
I just think we have consequences and bring a suit against the state.
Attorney.
I say we get out, and even if we don't have the region, let's take care of our own, file suit, and damn the consequences. We'll take care of our own.
That's what the suit is at.
You know, we can't.
And you think we're being misrepresented?
Yeah.
But
The
it's,
suit is way worse.
but it's gonna affect reimbursement, isn't it? We're not gonna qualify for reimbursement.
Well, the only thing they reimburse, you know, what you mean reimburse us?
Yeah, I mean, how is it gonna affect everybody?
Well, actually, they cannot discontinue services to the people. That is in the.
The trouble is, what they reimburse us
We
for
don't
right
need
now,
to pay, and they still have to take care of their people.
what they're reimbursing us for financially is our salaries and expenses that I send in. They just send it back to us, which is, to me, is so stupid that they're reimbursing us for something that we have to pay anyway. And I think it's just a matter of their reporting. Not every region does that. But I think the concern is the services to clients, and they're still doing it in Cassuth County. Correct, Bill? They're still paying in Cassuth County.
Paying for
The services for people.
Yes.
But I can tell you what they're doing now.
They cannot.
They're cutting services, they're wanting to get rid of payee services. They want to get rid of homemaker services. They're cutting all these services that they paid before anyway. That really the only thing around here is services to people at the Duncan Heights home that are in HAB services.
thinking about something else.
Well, in the 2080 agreement, it does say they can stop services.
Yeah, they haven't yet in pursuit.
Excuse me. And that's.
Thank you.
Yep.
Here, Julia.
But when you look at the receipts coming back into our Fund 10, all of that money coming back is the reimbursement of our salaries, except for the levy that you have. So it's just like paying, getting it back, paying, getting it
How can
back.
we pay something that well, I guess we could have made a budget amendment if we'd have done it 45 days ago, I guess.
Well, I think Worth County is short like $7,000,
Yeah, it's about $10,000.
10,000, whatever.
You have to ask Ken what their intentions there were. Did they voted to get rid of his voting rights too? He was in on that, wasn't he? Yeah, because they're in arrears. Yeah.
But you look in here, what they're asking for Blackhawk and Cerro Gordo, it'd be interesting to see what at the end of June, exactly what do they have in their fund balance to carry over for July, because they're not going to get their taxes till September, October. And he was saying at that meeting how he wants his money in July, remember? He's not going to get his money in July because there's not, a lot of these counties aren't going to have money.
He has to have his money in July because he's trying to cook the books as fast as he can. That's just my opinion.
Well, if that truly is your opinion, get the state involved. I mean, if you really feel that.
How do you do that?
You know, what's that?
How do you do that?
Let's go talk
One
to
of us?
Chelsea after the meeting.
Yeah, not one, but yeah, Chelsea would call the attorney general or.
Is she out of court now, or?
I don't know what she is, but we could go up and set up a time that we could.
I think we're at that point where we need to have some legal counsel on this.
Well, Kasuth, that's their attorney. He was at the meeting here last month, or this month, or the month before.
Right.
And he made a whole bunch of good points, and I actually thought we were going to reinstate Rogers, because in theory, before they can take away your voting rights, you got to go through arbitration. And but they went ahead and they all voted to move the rest of us out with it. So.
Well, I'm going to think I didn't see in there where it talked about arbitration, or is that just part of the state code?
That must be.
Is it under the section where you leave? I think in that section it was.
I can't remember where. I'd have to talk to their attorney. He's the one that pointed it out.
But during any period of delinquency, such county should not be entitled to services or.
And that's not legal.
So it's contrary to state code is probably what he's saying.
Yeah.
But this is more like a dictatorship rather than being able to go through arbitration.
The whole thing to me, is a money grab. They see that big old pot of money sitting out there, that fund balance, and they're grabbing it.
Do we have a document of what the attorney over there is saying in Kasuth County?
Just what he talked about at the meeting, but he just.
It'd be nice to get his opinion.
Well, Kelsey is supposed to have gotten, she's called him and he hasn't gotten back to her yet. And I talked to Roger to tell their county attorney to call our county attorney back. He's been really busy, I guess.
What's our
How much we have left?
Not just this fund, but the overall.
Everybody? That's a good question.
Is there any cushion at all there? Are we that tight this year where we can justify we just don't have it?
Say that again?
Or can we justify that we just plain don't have it in our budget? You know, it's clearly evident through the media that we've made it very clear we're tight. I think we're hiding money. It's almost like they're trying to bankrupt our county.
Well, I think they want to get us to where we don't have any options, you know, they don't have any.
How long until that audit is supposed to come back?
Well, it's
He's
either
gonna-
for the June meeting, isn't
Yeah,
it?
June meet to the week before, he's gonna present it to the executive committee.
That's towards the end of June.
Yeah, so it was the third Wednesday in June.
It's gonna be the second Wednesday, he give it to them. But he's gonna do it without talking to anybody. And in case you wanna call him, I'm thinking,
Here's our cash and investments. But this isn't budget either, but when you look at, you know, this is the number we're in our general basic. And that's gotta last until, like she said, October. That's a,
And that would include the 172 or whatever they want now.
that's.
that's the mental health,
just-
that's the mental health.
There you go.
That's that number is in there.
Yeah.
Kelsey,
Yeah.
go back to the book.
Kelsey right there. No.
Okay, now just, why does it disappear? It's the only way I know how to do it. Push call. Volume down. Hello? This,
Hello. Hi, is this Kelsey? Oh, okay. Are you available to come down to the boardroom? Okay, thanks. Yep.
This is like, what's wrong with that thing?
barely.
It's just.
It was slapped, you were sitting like this, so you were actually hearing the.
Oh, we're in through the.
Yeah.
That's all weird.
Don't tell me Mike figured that out.
Very seldom.
Telephone company.
That's right.
No, we didn't get.
He should be the expert.
Yeah, wrong company.
It's his equipment.
That's right.
No, it's his,
His service.
his connection.
I don't even know how to run this.
Yeah, you have them for how long, and then you keep finding new things, just like, oh, I didn't know.
And barely run my stapler.
I didn't know to do this either.
Good morning.
Morning.
Well,
You guys are still here, huh?
yeah, we're still here.
Welcome to our wonderful world down here.
I don't know about the other two, but I wanna go on the warpath
Okay.
in CSS.
Oh, sure.
Have you been in contact with Jesus?
I sent another email this morning. I copied his assistant in, so Stephanie Miller, I believe, so hopefully I'll hear something.
I talked to Roger,
Okay,
said that you could put a bug in his ear.
yeah,
As far as, 'cause I'm on the naughty list with Roger now, I got my voting rights taken away, so, I have CSS.
okay,
And along with Ken Abrams and then Supervisor from one other county. But
Wright
he didn't
County.
realize they were leaders from
Wright
Wright County. He didn't realize they were leaders.
Well, they sent the check,
Oh.
we haven't got it yet.
Yeah, something like that.
okay.
That's what we.
So the question is, is this 28E agreement a valid agreement if they don't allow for arbitration upon taking away your voting rights?
I'd have to look. Can somebody send me a copy of the 2080 agreement?
We did. I brought one up there to you one time, and then I think there's one.
For CSS?
Yeah. I had a copy made, and if you go back to.
You sent me one on the.
I hand-delivered one. I made mine and I made yours.
Okay.
But if you look at suspension,
Uh-huh.
is there a section of code in the state of Iowa that allows for us to have arbitration? Because that's the way it sounded in Cassuth County, that he was challenging.
But that's what he was challenging. Well, I'll have to look, and hopefully
Well, he's already done a lot of research on this already.
Right.
I mean, he could really help you out by
Yeah.
communicating with you.
And I doubt his assistant probably hasn't done much with it. Usually it's the full-time guy or the elected guy that does it. I'll have to look. Cause I have the one you handed me on the, what was it, the recycling or whatever.
I thought we got this.
I don't think I have that, but I can double check. I'll look on my desk. Things do get lost in the shuffle on that desk.
2080, I could probably.
Or just give me a copy.
I just made some notes on this. I mean, it's just population notes.
Yeah.
There's just so many bizarre things that happened that, and I'm not up to speed like Bill is.
On it, yeah.
But from what I've heard about all this, there's just so many bizarre things. I think we should get the state involved, myself,
Okay.
to investigate what's been going on.
They're gonna have their own little investigation with their HR department.
Maybe you want to forward her the email you just got.
Oh, yeah. The email on,
The one I forwarded to you that he was talking about.
They're gonna investigate it with their HR department to do let's look at that, that'd be ideal. All right, if I can get far enough away to read it. We, at the last moment, I didn't vote. Well, I might have had voting rights at that meeting yet, but it's just future meetings and see where's it at. Okay, we're gonna authorize our HR consultant to conduct an organization audit of CSS from November 16 to the present in relationship to the budget deficit and pivot reorganization. This will not exceed $5,000, and the report will be presented to the CXS Executive Committee on June 20th, discussion and action. And I think what they're up to there is they're gonna try and prove that the delay in the pivot, which is his reorganization,
Right.
is the cause of our financial woes.
Okay. Yeah, I'll read through this and,
It's an inside job.
yeah,
And all the Kool-Aid drinkers are on the executive.
right.
So the other
That's
thing,
not gonna do much.
that I'd like to know is, if we just don't pay, they want $170-some thousand from us right now.
That's what's due right now.
If we don't pay that, and let's say we just play hardball, we're gonna take care of our own citizens, even though the statute says that we need to belong. How do we go about suing the state?
Forcing us to be a part of this region.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna have to look into that. I can't
It's
give
pretty
you an
easy.
answer.
A case against the state, isn't it?
That would depend on your definition
You say act of Congress.
But I can look into that too.
I mean, they've taken complete home rule away from us on this one,
Mhm.
in my opinion.
Right, right. Well, I'm very interested to know what Todd has done, or what they've even done over there, because at this point, I don't even know what they've.
So what's happened so far is they've taken our voting rights away through a majority vote, and now to waive it, there's a 3/4 vote needed. Hardly seems fair.
Right.
But there's a standard here too, that Cassuth County has always been behind, and Bob has never brought it up till now.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's
so
because he's in
right.
trouble.
So before, it didn't make any difference, because they always were able to vote. So I'm thinking, why were they not concerned 2 years ago when all this was happening?
Right.
See, that's the bizarre things that are happening.
That's
They
right.
don't-
Uh-huh.
I think they don't have the legal standing. I think Bob knows it. He's not forcing anything. He didn't even begin to start the arbitration proceedings. In theory, at the meeting before that, that was supposed to start. And yeah, I can't understand why he just isn't grabbing the bull by the horns and, well, that they say they don't want to hire a lawyer or get the CSS's lawyer involved because that'll be expenses, and now they're blaming all those expenses on us too. So,
Oh, jeez. Okay. It's
Is
kind
there
of a mess.
something in there that says how much we're required to pay?
Well,
Gotta pay the levy.
you gotta pay the levy, but it also says if it comes up short, every county's supposed to kick in, is what it says. I was reading to you.
But see, they were concerned about when we first joined, that everybody, that the fund balance you had when you started was theirs also.
But
And Kasuth had a big fund balance.
Well,
it's contradictory because they say you're supposed to stay within the budget. But we didn't do that, so now we gotta kick in according to this.
Mm.
and everybody else has, except for us, Kasuth and Wright and Worth, I guess.
So there are a handful
Right,
of.
Wright was in theory by accident. Our supervisor was going to take care of it.
Oh, okay.
Kasuth's is on purpose.
And we don't have it in our budget to put this money in there.
Right.
But I'll guarantee you that most of the, if this did get in front of a full board from the state, and they started asking questions of these supervisors, they'd have no clue what's going on down there. They'd have no clue, I guarantee it.
The ones that
They haven't paid attention. And now it's too late.
So
So-
what's the amount that you need to pay now? What'd you say?
72 or something.
Okay.
176,003.31 cents.
But that's gonna put us at risk of, we won't be able to pay staff coming, after the 1st of July going into, get our taxes.
Right.
Well, I don't think that's because we have a sizable fund balance. It's just that if we pay it now, we won't be able to pay June. Well, we don't have it now anyway because we paid. Is this April 30th amount? Because I think that was,
It was through 12, so it's anything that's paid as of today.
so I guess mine was April 30th, so how much is in that budget right now as of,
In the budget or in the fund?
in the budget?
In the budget.
Because we don't have the money to pay it now.
The chairman of the board called me stubborn.
Called you what?
And that was a nice
I'm glad
thing
that you are.
compared to what they would have called it.
Hmm?
And he's not.
Evidently not.
She told him Pee Wee Herman. I know him, but what are you? What am I doing? Sorry.
Thought about him in a while.
Thank goodness.
We're talking mental health.
You know what, if there was a case for services are needed.
Well, the most fun we have with going to these meetings is on the car there and the car back.
The release.
Oh, you've been in on that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Ron's still right with us.
There's 173, 648, 35 in that budget.
Okay.
So there's not even enough in the budget to.
To pay that. And that has to last until we get the taxes in.
No, it's through June 30th.
All right.
Budget.
June 30th.
In the fund, there's like 400,000.
Yeah, there's enough in the fund to pay it, but not in the budget.
So I'm kind of at the point we either one way or the other.
Need to do something, yeah.
We either pay it or we fight it.
Mm.
it's my opinion that you should fight it.
Challenge. Yeah.
And in the meantime, they are so far behind. I mean, he's lagging on paying bills and all kinds of stuff, trying to make things look good from what I can see.
Okay.
And us not paying it is really going to make it even more uncomfortable for CSS going ahead to pay. And that's one reason I was getting all those dagger laden stairs. I guess.
When did Cassuth stop paying? Just this most recent?
Oh.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Okay.
Bob actually okayed it.
They paid their levy,
Okay.
but they didn't pay the
They were paying their
Right,
levy.
the extra, yeah.
Purposely keeping their levy lower, they're using their own fund balance up themselves.
Okay.
They're paying the amount the CSS is requiring, but the levy to their taxpayers is actually a lesser amount. And then they make up the difference out of their own fund balance.
Okay.
It was just the way it should be done.
Kelsey, yeah.
See here.
I mean, we should lower
This
the
is the
levy.
levy that they want from all the counties.
Because.
That's what they're saying, but Cassuth County lowered theirs to make that up because they had such a sizable fund balance.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know for sure what they did levy.
It was less than the 3518.
Yeah.
And then they're using their own fund balance to make up the difference.
Okay, so they paid the 3518.
They paid them the 3518, but their taxpayers aren't getting charged that.
Right.
Because they took it out of their fund
Because
balance.
they're taking it out of their fund balance to make up the difference. So they're using up their fund balance themselves, and that's not.
Basically the same place we are.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah.
Okay.
And then you have to realize a couple of the counties in this region didn't have to levy what they had because by state law, it was, like Butler County was only
That's still that
2614.
way.
But no, this
that
year,
changed.
now that changed now. But before, they were,
Because they had a maximum amount that could be billed.
So what's the transition on that? When did they start having? So they still have to pay what we're paying? I mean, the.
not, before they didn't have to, but I think this coming year they have to, don't they?
So for this fiscal year, a lot of the
Well,
problems.
for fiscal 18, it's 2614.
So we can blame them for some of that too, and the state for not acting.
Yeah, and them and Tama County only had bid 3281. And see, before, what we paid before was higher than 3318. What was it, 35 something, or what was 37 something? I mean, because at the time it was 47 or 46 was the max. And but we were paid under that, and then he lowered it and lowered it. But these counties have always paid under that.
You know, this is almost.
And that's
like-
not fair either.
I hate to do this, but this is a lot like drainage. I think we need to have somebody come in and reclassify this. Upon need, what's your benefit?
Yeah. Then that comes right back down to each county's levy representing their citizens' use of services.
And the trouble is, when Merlin asked for that at that meeting that time, and he said he would, and he never did. Because he knew eventually he
It's not gonna
did.
look good.
It's not gonna look good.
Well, he made it where it took a vote of the board to show us that information, and then he ended up showing us the information in the end without vote of the board, so. It seems like Bob can do whatever he wants there without having any repercussions.
And see, my question to him is, I want to see who these clients are, and he never did send that to me because the information is only good as what you put into it, into the computer system. And if you do not update those addresses, your information is bogus. Because then, if you have somebody that moved to Saragordo County or lives here and they never updated to Saragordo County, it's going to show here when they're not actually here. So.
But then that goes back to that point Saragordo, the police chief was making. There's a lot of people migrating to Saragordo County because the services.
But let me tell you, there's a lot of people coming this way too because they can afford to live out here.
Okay.
And there's a lot more low-rent housing and rent's a lot cheaper here.
Can we come up with that information?
Well, let me tell you, I think I've had 3 people in the last couple of weeks that I know of that came here. But, and I think it happens all the time because they move to Manly, they move to Kansas,
So
they
it's
move
not
over here.
one-sided, it's
No,
not
it is
one.
not one-sided.
Just feels like it for him.
Well, feels like that for us too, doesn't it?
He probably doesn't notice the ones that leaves as much as the ones that come.
Well, because maybe the ones that go there maybe have,
But, I mean, it's not fair, in my mind, it's not fair to Cerro County to be paying for, just because they have the services there, and then people decide to go live there.
but it comes back the other way too, Bill. There's
Yeah.
people moving here.
Okay, so what are we gonna have Kelsey do?
Come up with write us a check.
I can write the check, but it's not gonna go through.
Well, I know what I would like, I would like you to check out, the process of challenging this
Okay,
from a court system.
okay,
And so we can just be, so we can be our own, Winnebago to be our own.
yeah,
Um,
okay.
I'd like.
And I'll look in specifically to the arbitration deal as well.
That takes to start an audit of our CSS region by the state.
Okay,
Because I don't want to not trust people,
right,
but I've seen too many things that make me,
red flags.
yeah, and that's what we're charged to do. And I'm not exactly sure that he's being used properly.
Okay,
I don't think anybody's lying in their pockets, at least I hope not. I mean, even though when you think of lifelong links and you never know, you just can't.
But when you don't get all the information you'd like, you can't prove that.
Yeah. Did you know that they just came out with a number at the state level that it costs absolutely nothing, that will do a one-call number that costs us nothing, and that's what the lifelong links was supposed to be, and we spent many hundreds of thousands of dollars on lifelong links, that phone line.
See, that should be investigated.
Yeah, well, and I just can't understand, I mean, there was a whole bunch of people involved, that even the supervisors that seem to be on Bob's page did not like lifelong links. And so I'm sitting there thinking, well, the whole thing from the start didn't sound like it was gonna pan out to me financially, especially because we're already providing the services without this number.
right.
So what was the incentive in doing this? I can't.
Well, he was a buddy of your guy from Lake Mills. What was his name? The guy that was a smooth talker. Shut your ears. What was his name?
Smooth talker?
Oh, gosh, I told you, you knew him. He was from Lake Mills.
The only smooth talker I know.
Besides you. Oh. Huh? He's number 2. Worked for the elderly agency down there.
Good night.
What was his name?
Is that in this century or last?
No.
I'm a Bun Blank and
He said he was a good singer. I can't remember his name right now. Eisman?
good singer.
Eisman?
Oh,
You know what I mean?
doesn't live there anymore.
No. But he worked for that group.
Mike Isaacson.
Yeah, he worked for that group.
Oh, lifelong links?
Elderbridge, yeah. And Bob was on his board of whatever group he had down there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll see what I can find out, and hopefully Todd will get in touch with me too.
Yeah,
When did you put that bug in his ear to Rogers or whoever?
I already did.
You did, okay.
I'll do it again.
I sent an email this morning hoping maybe
I spent.
a different form of communication will.
Roger rode with us, we went all the way to Tama. 300. So if I've got my voting rights suspended, do I get reimbursed? And we didn't pay, do I get reimbursed?
That's a good question.
They might play naughty back the other way too.
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna make someone else drive.
Well, just send it to me and we'll take it out of this budget. That was a choice. We could send it there. We didn't have to.
Well, yeah, but everything's coming from them now. I thought it had to go through them now to get it.
Well, that's what they said, but they say a lot of things.
Okay, I'll let you know what I find out.
Okay. I gotta take a break.
Are you done with me now?
Thank you.
Do you think that we should have a?
I think one of the things that they were talking about too,
That, I think we need to wait on Kelsey, the ramifications of not doing that. I don't know how long it'll take her to.
Or could we?
I think that We meet, is it June 21st again?
Table it.
Is it June 21st we meet again in Saragordo County? It was on a Monday at
Before
2
that.
Was
It's
it?
before that.
It was on a Monday
Because.
at 2 o'clock, I can't remember.
Because I'll be gone. It must be the week before that.
Was it? Okay. I know I have it written down.
It must have been the 14th, because I'll be gone.
It was on a Monday. Oh my goodness.
Let me see if I put it in my phone.
How'd they get 21st? 21st isn't even on a Monday.
I was thinking it was in the middle of the week.
Well, must have been.
Let's see. I didn't put it in my phone because I knew I was going to be gone.
Okay, I know I have it written down, so, okay.
Let me know, I don't have it down in mine.
Okay, well, Bill should have,
Bill's got it.
Bill's got it too. Okay, I'll find out for sure. Okay, talk to you guys.
This table number 11.
Do you want official action on that?
It's totally up to you guys. I feel like for my office, I should have something telling me what to do. Something official.
You want to do an official tabling of that payment?
Or postpone the payment until Kelsey finds out more information.
Not denying it, but tabling it until we get more information?
Yeah, I suppose that would be the proper thing to do.
I'll make a motion to table the payment to CSS until we get more information.
I'll second it. You got it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
You know, I sure wish it was just back to the good old days when we just voted, yep, once it in.
You want to complicate it?
Yes. The hippies have come into power. That's the problem. No, but it's the truth. I've found that many times. I'm like, you know what? They're becoming the age that was it even their offspring? The age of Aquarius. Yeah. How's he go that song? The age of Aquarius or something like that. And it seems like those people have nothing else to do but sit around and spin their little webs while the rest of us are too busy working, trying to, pay attention to it all.
Heat this weekend was hard on me.
Saturday, I literally thought it was a sauna, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was progressively worse on me. The early ones I could handle, but yesterday was tough on me.
Three-town people handle it.
I don't know, I didn't go.
I heard there were a lot of arrests. Were there? That's what I heard.
I'm curious how the medical part of it went.
I don't think it was as bad as last year. I forgot the specifics. I asked her how much excitement there was.
Did they have a contract paramedic service
just had a bunch of volunteers. Well, they don't volunteer, they get paid now. They used to volunteer. But they,
It's not a company that comes in like that first year.
no, it was, yeah, the company came in the first year and they got everybody to volunteer. You know, just, well, they got free tickets to go to Tree Town or whatever for themselves. But they had to work the whole time because it's, I heard there was a lot of arrests. I don't know how many of them ended up under our,
I looked at that one.
Well, they all come here now, because
oh, yeah, that's right, Hancock. Well, but they would process them there, but then they'd be held here, I suppose.
But they're paying us to house them.
Yeah.
We're guaranteed the money then. Well, he was telling me the other day that, you know, it used to be our numbers were higher than theirs. Now it's the other way around.
Yeah, no, they've been having a crime spree down there.
really,
Yeah, that's good for us, I guess.
Well, it's just bad for society. Everything's supposed to be so good.
I'm looking at the dollars and cents of it.
Yeah, well, that part, it's all right. Just assume we didn't have to build the thing and, yeah. Or you don't need them so big. It'd be like in the 70s when they didn't hardly have anybody in jail.
Had voted himself in.
Yeah, I just had you guys that go this year.
I think the crimes are more horrific than what they used to be.
Yeah.
Their length of stay in the jail is getting to be longer, I know that.
Like that guy in the news the other day, it was, said that if you don't commit a crime that's more than $100,000, you won't see any jail time or prison time anyway.
So just a reminder, we're meeting out there tomorrow.
9 a.m. Public Safety Center.
You got that on your schedule.
Oh, I saw the email on it, walk through or whatever, I better make a reminder.
Hoping the contractors will all be there so we can hash this out. Who's in charge?
I won't be there, I got to walk. Tomorrow morning, you said?
Yeah.
Out in the public safety center
When's the next meeting, Bill,
for the new region.
oh, yeah, that's right, I was gonna look that up too.
Seems like it was middle of June.
Yeah, I must not have put it.
I didn't put the things I knew I was gonna be gone.
Let me see if I have it out on the board.
Yeah, I never got an email on it or anything, at least I can call Chris quick and get it from him too.
Well, when you're ready, I've looked at all the payroll claims, I'll take a motion. And I'll vote.
It's June 20th at 9 a.m.
June 20th at 9 a.m.?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I'll be on my way back.
Yeah, I know you had a conflict. And that's, at what time?
9.
9 a.m.? Really?
That's what it says.
I thought we were doing it in the afternoon again.
That's what Sandy emailed me. I just put it on the board the way she sends it to me, so.
Looks like the farmers have been here. Yeah, yeah, mud on the boots.
So I'm guessing Jeff Anderson was here for his mother.
Who's the guy sitting over there?
Ron Peterson.
Is that Ron Peterson? Yeah.
That out Ron Peterson.
He's the one that's getting screwed out of it.
Yes. If there is a remonstrance, enough, it'd almost be worth maybe for him to set up a new lateral. If it's gonna be parallel anyway, you could just do a lateral that parallels.
Yeah, Chris, this is Bill Kemp. I was just calling about the meeting, I think it's June 20th. And Carla has it at 9 a.m. and for some reason I thought it was going to be in the afternoon again. You could call me back and just send me a text clarifying what an engineer is. Then I can share it with
Already got the
you.
number.
Thank you, bye.
Just downsize it just for the north part.
Sure.
Who did you just call?
Chris Watts.
This is just for CSS, or just for Winnebago Worth Hancock.
Oh, the WHW meeting.
Yeah, that's June 20th at 9.
Oh, we got another one with, all of them, the new region.
Oh, sorry. I have not been notified of that meeting.
I've got WHW meeting, I have that in my phone. Guys, 9 o'clock tomorrow, the 20th. The 20th at 9 a.m.
Yeah. And that's, I don't put down where it was.
It would be in Worth, I think. Because I think the last two have been here.
It's been on Monday, it's been on Monday.
Monday's been on the new region.
It's the 11th.
Yeah, because it's gotta be fairly soon, because we gotta make a decision, or gotta know from who wants to actually go, who wants to stay, I guess.
That's the bad thing about this. You have to kind of narrow it down to who you're working with before you can start coming up with that agreement.
Yeah.
Did we get information from the Central Iowa region? On the governors? I didn't get anything.
Yeah.
From Russell,
Yeah, we were supposed to get,
but it's not come through yet.
I haven't seen anything.
Who's the one this afternoon?
Elaine Michelson.
Has she done it before?
Yeah, she's that one that we had that was really good from Bethel Center.
Okay.
What was that for?
We have a coworker training this afternoon.
Well, she's my mom and dad's next door neighbor. She gives me asparagus all the time. She's really fast.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah, well, then
How do you get that?
she even goes out and picks Dad's for him. Dad's got a patch back there. She's got a monster's patch, but it's more than they can eat.
Ours grew so fast, we couldn't get it cut fast enough. You know,
Yeah.
big enough to be woody.
Yeah.
I don't know how to fix all that.
In fact, I still got some in the fridge. That's right. I gotta make that up yet.
Planted in the garden yet.
The good news is, that's getting late, not late. The good news is most of my family doesn't like it. It's just Rebecca and I. So we get it.
Yeah, I think this might be the year I put all my compost down in the garden and let it grow, kill the weeds.
Yeah, get them up good and then spray them and kill them.
Have it ready for next year.
It's kind of like farming this year. Everything that's going to go to seed in your field is going to seed. You go out, like Sam, they went out and did some burn down on a couple fields before they went out and worked it up, just because it's like grass growing between the rows of corn.
Yeah, Matthews, they planted their, that Ron planted their beans early enough where the weeds were coming faster than the beans.
Yeah.
Did you second it?
Oh, I'll second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Are we adjourned then?